Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Mike McDonald, Director of Communications of the Catholic League, and joining me today is Bill Donohue, President and CEO of the Catholic League. Bill, we have a very busy week, a lot going on in our area, so I do want to kind of jump right into what's going on, because we're seeing a lot of attacks, particularly coming from government. And a big one that we focus in, start the week off with, was the Department of Education is going to rescind a very smart rule that the Trump administration had put in place that would have essentially said if you discriminate against a Christian group on campus and you're found, or any religious group on campus, student group on campus, and you're found to have violated their constitutional rights, then you're going to be ineligible for grant funding. So that was the rule that the Trump administration put in place, and now the Biden administration is getting rid of it. Can you tell us why they're getting rid of it?
Well, they claim that the reason is that we have enough rights. Now, when it comes to the LGBT people, there are never enough rights. You can never have enough rights for them. But when it comes to Christians and people of faith, of any faith, we have too many rights. We have the First Amendment. That's good enough. That's not even that's risible. It's not plausible on the face of it. And they also say that it's unduly burdensome to deal with the regulations. This is an administration which loves regulations.
Right.
So all of a sudden it became a burden for them to police the campuses. Now, look, as I pointed out in the statement, and you guys did the report. You guys did an excellent job, and you led the report, Mike. Dozens of examples of people of faith, not all Christian, but largely, who have had their rights eviscerated by previous administrations or the campuses, usually what's going on in the campus. And so the idea that we have enough rights when it's so obviously, manifestly false that our rights are being taken away. I wrote and quoted Robert George, who's on our board of advisors, a brilliant guy, teaches at Princeton, and many others. I saw it as a professor myself. The campuses are a hotbed of militant secularism these days. The antipathy to people of faith is palpable, and they know it because they've admitted it. The students say, we're afraid to speak up. In fact, there was a survey this week by FIRE, a very good student watchdog group on what's going on campus. The majority of professors are now afraid to speak up. And this even includes some on the left. But the few conservatives that are left, they almost have to keep their mouth shut. But we are doing something about it, and I'll let you tell the viewers what they can do.
Yeah,
we're not just putting out a statement. We're doing something.
Right, absolutely. So in addition to the article that Bill wrote, which you can find on our website, catholicleague.org, we'll have a link in the description below. And do be sure to check that out, because at the bottom of the article, we have instructions for how to comment on this rule. Now, to avoid getting too far into the weeds, Bill, but there's a 30-day period to review any rule that any administration puts out, and the public has a chance to comment on it. Now, generally, it's not going to do much. The administration has their mind made up. But if enough people comment, it might be able to get them to water down their thinking. But more importantly, this would set it up for another administration to come in, take a look at those public comments, and say, we're going to repeal it. So it's very important that everyone gets involved. So do check out Bill's article at the very bottom. You'll see the report and a way to contact. We have a step-by-step guide. It's very important that you do comment on this, because otherwise they're just going to run roughshod over us, and we won't be then setting up tools for another administration to come in there and overturn those rules. So do be sure to comment.
And not only that, Mike, but I would say we've looked around. I mean, it sounds a little braggadocio. I don't care how it sounds. We're the only ones doing this. We looked around. This issue of having the students' rights, the religious students' rights, eviscerated on campus, I don't know where the outcry is with our sister organizations, but we're not in charge of them. We can only do what we can do right here at the Catholic League. And this gives you an opportunity. It's a little cumbersome. You have to jump over some hoops. It's not our fault. Mike and the boys here did a good job of negotiating this, trying to navigate it, make it easier, more felicitous to chime in. But if like Mike said, if you don't let your voice heard, then it's going to sure defeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just to change gears a little bit, because I know whenever we talk about government regulations being overburdensome, cracking down on us, people tend to lose faith. There was some good news this week on that front, Bill. The mayor of New York, Eric Adams was giving a speech this week about it was to what, the prayer breakfast?
Yeah, an
in New York?
interfaith group.
An interfaith group, and he had a lot of good things to say. What can you talk us through some of his
Well,
remarks?
he did come out and he said that he doesn't believe in separation of church and state. Now, listen, he meant that as that politics has to be driven by your faith, not that he doesn't believe in the Constitution. How do I know that? And do I get inside his head? Because he's been mayor for quite a while, and if he was out to destroy the First Amendment, we would also complain as well. So he's speaking to an audience. A lot of times the African-American politicians will get caught up and say, listen, my faith means so much, and it sounds like they're not listening to what the Constitution is supposed to say. To see the hyperventilation from people on the left, from the New York Civil Liberties Union in particular, screaming about separation of church and state, we actually believe in separation of church and state. The problem today is not the church encroaching on the state. It's the other way around.
Right.
It's organizations like the ACLU pushing for legislation like the Equality Act so that the state can tell Catholic hospitals and doctors, we're going to cut your funding unless you perform abortions and sex reassignment surgeries. So we're the ones who want separation of church and state properly understood, not as being hostile to religion. So these phonies are out there attacking Mayor Adams. We know what he meant. He's talking about he wants an informed conscience based on his faith to affect his political decisions. So it was much ado about nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is very positive to hear things like that, and because you so often hear about these people that will show up during election season, they'll go into a church, make a similar statement, and then you won't see from them. So that is a good thing. But I guess to shift back to a little bit more of the doom and gloom territory, this week, Attorney General Merrick Garland was testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he got hammered quite hard on a lot of the issues that we've been talking about here. And one issue stood out in particular, Bill, Jane's Revenge. And we've spoken about them. They're a domestic terrorist group, radical pro-abortionists. They're the ones firebombing the pro-life pregnancy centers, attacking the churches, doing all these terrible things. And he seemed to be confused, like he'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing. Thank God for Senator Marsha Blackburn. She's in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
And she said, well, now, Secretary Garland, you told me earlier in the day that you never heard of Jane's Revenge. Now, look, people, either this guy is an inveterate liar. He's the head of the Department of Justice. He's the United States Attorney General, and he never heard of Jane's Revenge, or the man is clueless. That his staff never told him about it. As I pointed out, back in June of last year, Senator Rubio out of Florida, wrote to him twice on the 10th and the 15th of June about Jane's Revenge, this domestic terrorist group going after pro-life centers and Catholic churches. Who was the other fellow? Was it
Mike Lee, I believe it was.
No, I think that was Cotton. Wasn't it?
Cotton, yes.
Yeah. Mike Lee was very good.
Mike Lee on the day,
Yeah,
yes.
he was excellent.
And so was Josh Hawley as well.
Yeah.
But
Hawley was magnificent. Cotton had also written to him around the same time. And then I came in and wrote a letter, a lengthy letter to him pointing out what Jane's Revenge has done. Yeah, as Lee pointed out, Mike Lee, he said, listen, you've got two people who have been arrested for attacking Catholic churches and pro-life centers, but you've got dozens of people arrested for non-violent pro-life demonstrations. I mean, the disparity is palpable. That the thing is that Garland has to have known about Jane's Revenge. And if he, Tom Cotton is the one who said last year he ought to resign. And I ended my piece by saying, yeah, he ought to resign if he doesn't know one of the most notorious domestic terrorist groups in the country today, and that's his job to know it, and he's not doing anything about it. Then he needs to resign. And if that doesn't happen, he should be impeached. What in the world do we have somebody as a U.S. Attorney General doing? He lets Antifa get away with mass murder, Black Lives Matter, but he's worried about nonviolent pro-life people. It's really astounding that I don't know what's going on in the Biden administration between taking away the rights of students on the campus and now not sticking up for pro-life people and Catholics. It really is sending an horrendous message.
Yeah, it really does seem that there's a war on religion coming from this administration, particularly against Catholics. Bill, I feel like that's a good spot to wrap up this week. But dear viewer, do check out our website if you're interested in any of the stories we talked about, anything else going on with the Catholic League. Do check out our website, catholicleague.org. We'll have a link in the description below. While you're there, consider signing up for our emails. That's always a great way to stay informed, get involved on these things. And if you could consider becoming a member of the Catholic League, we're a member-driven organization, so any help that you give on that front would be greatly appreciated. And just also, again, if you could comment on that rule. I know Bill mentioned it is a lot of work, but we do try to make it as easy as possible, and we really could use your help on that. And as always, if you could give this video a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Mike.